So here's the thing. Night Elf Heritage Armor questline. God, this is... You can just talk about this thing forever.
Already have?
Yeah. It actually gets loads of details right.
It's
loads of callbacks to vanilla. It actually gets that stuff really accurate. It's just not the story that most people seemed to like. So it's like, yeah, it got the details right, but that didn't matter because the big vision wasn't really what people wanted.
Yeah, and again, that's what it boils down to, where you're completely fine to scupper details as long as you get the whole thing right. Obviously, it's perfect if you do both. If you can have callbacks to minor characters that someone remembers, then that person's going to be super, super, super happy. So you should always have that like aim to be right and be accurate, but you should never let being bogged down the details distract you from doing something that's actually really good and cool and interesting. And that's not even just how hard is it to get the detail right? And I think the problem is with a game that big and that like long, it's so many other bits where, the amount of times where I have to I'm trying to write a video about a character or something, and I have to go and bust open like a copy of Stormrage, get a PDF of Stormrage and Control F through it for a character to find references. And that stuff that is that's going to probably destroy how they actually write stuff if they start doing that. Because that's going to take hours out of their day and out of their writing. And they should be able to do it pretty quickly. They should have tools and things like that. And there's cases where, the exploring books where apparently lore historian doesn't know lore history in any capacity accurately half the time, just gets fucking numbers wrong all the time and just has characters and doesn't bring things forward. It's another example of that is actually the Forsaken Heritage quest, where whoever's making that quest went, and the Scarlets have the island. And that wasn't right.
Yes, that was wrong.
And that's kind of sucks. But at the same time, taking the island back from the Scarlets was cool. So
and people are like, fucking get over it. They got there somehow.
Yeah, it's exactly
the bit that mattered was the content.
Yeah, exactly.
And I understand how saying that can then lead to a game becoming a big mess. And I'm definitely not advocating for a big mess. And it is absolutely obviously ideal to get all those details right too. It's just like the order of importance, I suppose. In the same way that it's the most book accurate version of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, where we had Tom Bombadil, we had the Scouring of the Shire, where the elves didn't turn up for Helm's Deep, where there was the Helm's Dyke, and you kind of do all those details. Probably, are the details right? Yeah. Is it really big movie people love? Probably not. And obviously, I can't prove that. Maybe they would have been able to pull it off, but it's one of those things, it's well respected as an adaptation because it was quite wise in what things it cut and what details it wanted to change or gloss over, because it kind of had to make those sacrifices for the big picture. And I suppose a very tiny version of that is the Scarlets are on the island, because that's the bit of content that will be exciting.
Exactly. I think Icaria puts it right by saying right trees, wrong forest versus
that's a great line.
Wrong trees, right forest. That's exactly it. Well, would it really kill them to have right trees, right forests a couple times? Maybe, but that's the hard part to do. So instead they kind of go, I'd rather have right forest most of the time. I think that's better for the overall view of the game, but it can't be that way all the time, obviously, because then you have a load of issues cropping up all the time, basically.
Yeah.